Chapter 1. Stop announcing, start building. We live in an age of the public start. Think about the last time you had a big idea. Maybe it was a fitness goal, a business venture, or a creative project. What was the first thing you did? For most people today, the first step isn't the work, it's the announcement. We post a picture of our new running shoes on Instagram. We update our LinkedIn bio to founder. We tell our friends at dinner about the massive project we're about to launch. We do this because it feels good. But that good feeling is exactly what is killing your progress. The psychology of the dopamine trap. There is a psychological phenomenon known as social reality. It occurs when you tell someone about a goal and they acknowledge it or praise you for it. In that moment, your brain experiences a chemical reward, a hit of dopamine, that is almost identical to the reward you would receive if you had actually achieved the goal. When your friend says, "Wow, that sounds amazing, you're going to be so successful," your brain tricks itself into thinking you've already crossed the finish line. The identity-related tension that drives us to work is released. Why would you spend late nights grinding through the difficult, boring parts of building a business when you've already received the social validation of being a business owner? Science shows that people who keep their intentions private are significantly more likely to achieve them than those who announce them. When you stay silent, you preserve that internal tension. That tension is the fuel. It is the pressure that pushes you to wake up when you're tired. By talking, you are essentially leaking your fuel tank before the car has even left the driveway. Silence protects momentum. The power of the dark room. Every great achievement you admire was born in a dark room. Think of the professional athlete. We see them on the podium with a gold medal, under the bright lights of a stadium, surrounded by thousands of cheering fans. We see the loud result. But that result was created 3 years earlier, at 5 a.m., in a cold, empty gym where no one was watching. It was created in the dark room of obscurity. If that athlete had spent their time posting videos of every single practice session, seeking likes and claps for just showing up, they would have sapped the psychological hunger required to push through the pain of elite training. The hunger stays sharp because it hasn't been fed by the cheap calories of social media praise. Consider the early days of any iconic company. When Jeff Bezos started Amazon, he wasn't hosting press conferences about how he was going to change the world. He was in a converted garage with a desk made out of a wooden door, surrounded by stacks of books, packing boxes himself. He moved in silence for years before the world realized what was happening. By the time the world started talking about him, he was already unstoppable. The execution energy leak. Execution requires a specific type of mental energy. It is a finite resource. Every time you explain your vision to someone else, you are using a portion of that energy. Have you ever noticed that after a long conversation where you brainstormed and talked about how great your life is going to be, you feel a sense of lethargy? You feel like you've already done the work. You go home and sit on the couch because the talk was the workout. Contrast this with the silent builder. The silent builder feels a literal physical discomfort because their vision hasn't been realized yet. They don't want to talk about it because talking feels like a waste of time. They are obsessed with the gap between where they are and where they want to be. They keep that gap private, and the only way they can close it is through action. Move in silence. Let your outcomes make the noise. The result barrier rule. To master quiet focus, you must implement the result barrier rule. The rule is simple. You are not allowed to speak about a project until you have reached a tangible milestone that cannot be taken away. Don't say you're starting a diet. Wait until you've lost 10 pounds and someone asks you what you've been doing. Don't say you're writing a book. Wait until the first draft is finished and sitting on your hard drive. Don't say you're launching a business. Wait until you have your first paying customer. When you wait for the result to speak, you gain a different kind of power. You aren't seeking permission or validation. You are presenting evidence. Evidence is undeniable. Opinions are cheap. Practical exercise. The 30-day ghost phase. For the next 30 days, I want you to enter a ghost phase. Pick one goal, the one that matters most to you. From this moment forward, you are forbidden from mentioning it to anyone. No posts, no stories, no casual mentions in conversation. If someone asks what you've been up to, give a vague, boring answer. Just working on a few things, keeping busy. Notice what happens to your internal state. At first, you will feel an itch. You will desperately want to tell someone. That itch is your ego craving a hit of dopamine. Do not feed it. Instead, take that energy and channel it directly into the work. When you stop announcing, you start building. You begin to realize that the approval of others is a distraction from the mastery of yourself. You start to find a deep, quiet satisfaction in the progress itself, rather than the perception of progress. Silence protects momentum. As we move into Chapter 2, we will look at what happens once you've cleared the noise, how to handle the boring middle section of the work where most people fail. But for now, remember, your energy is a currency. Stop spending it on talk. Start investing it in action. Chapter 2. Discipline thrives in boring moments. We have been conditioned to believe that success is a series of epic moments. We watch the movie montage where the protagonist trains for 3 minutes to a high-energy soundtrack and suddenly emerges as a master. We see the highlight reels of entrepreneurs closing billion-dollar deals or athletes lifting trophies. Because our culture consumes the end product of discipline, we have developed a distorted view of what the process actually feels like. We think the process should be exciting. We think that if we are truly passionate about our goals, we should feel a surge of inspiration every time we sit down to work. But the truth is far less cinematic. The truth is that real discipline, the kind that builds empires and changes lives, is remarkably, undeniably, and often painfully boring. If you want to achieve loud results, you must first learn to fall in love with the boredom of the quiet focus phase. The myth of intensity. Most people fail not because they lack talent or ambition, but because they are addicted to intensity. They wait for a burst of motivation to strike before they go to the gym. They wait for the perfect idea before they start writing. They operate in high-energy spikes, followed by long periods of inactivity. Intensity is easy. Anyone can work 12 hours for one day if they have a deadline or a fresh surge of excitement. But intensity does not scale. It burns out. You cannot build a lifelong career or a healthy body on intensity alone. Discipline, however, is the ability to show up when the feeling has left the room. It is the ability to perform the same mundane task for the 1,000th time with the same level of precision as the first. This is where the world is divided into two groups: the amateurs who chase the high of newness and the professionals who embrace the grind of repetition. Mastery is monotonous on purpose. Why boredom is a signal of progress. In our modern, hyperstimulated world, we view boredom as a problem to be solved. The moment we feel a lull in excitement, we reach for our phones. We check our notifications. We look for a new project or a new hack to spice things up. But in the realm of high performance, boredom is not a problem, it is a signal. It is a sign that you have moved past the novelty phase and entered the refinement phase. When you first start a new habit or project, it's exciting. Your brain is flooded with dopamine because everything is new. But eventually, the novelty wears off. The new car smell of your goal disappears. This is the boredom threshold. Most people quit right here. They assume that because they no longer feel excited, they must be doing the wrong thing. They go looking for a new goal, starting the cycle over again, forever remaining a beginner at everything and a master of nothing. The elite, however, recognize that boredom is the gatekeeper of greatness. If you can stay focused when the work becomes repetitive, you are doing what 99% of people are unwilling to do. You are building skill density. You are refining the micro-movements, the subtle nuances, and the foundational habits that the amateur will never even notice. When you feel bored, don't seek a distraction. Instead, lean in. Tell yourself, this is the part where I get ahead. The anatomy of a routine. Think of the greatest writers in history. Many of them followed routines that would seem incredibly dull to an outsider. Maya Angelou used to rent a tiny, plain hotel room, remove all the pictures from the walls, and sit there with nothing but a bottle of sherry, a dictionary, and a yellow legal pad. She did this every single day. There were no epic moments in that room. There was only the slow, monotonous work of putting one word after another. Think of the elite athlete. They don't spend every day inventing new, flashy exercises. They spend years perfecting the same squat, the same jump, the same swing. They do the boring work of recovery, stretching, and nutrition while everyone else is looking for a shortcut. Mastery is the result of deep repetition. It is the compounding interest of the mundane. When you repeat a task until it becomes second nature, you free up your cognitive energy to focus on the highest level of execution. You don't have to think about the basics anymore. The basics have become part of your DNA. Mastery is monotonous on purpose. Introducing the minimum daily standard, MDS. One of the biggest enemies of consistency is all or nothing thinking. We tell ourselves that if we can't spend 2 hours at the gym, there's no point in going. If we can't write 2,000 words, we shouldn't open the laptop. This mindset is a trap. It makes your progress dependent on having a perfect day, and perfect days are rare. To combat this, you must implement the minimum daily standard, MDS. The MDS is the absolute floor of your performance. It is the smallest, most manageable version of your habit that you can perform even on your worst day. It is the non-negotiable proof that you are still the person you say you are. If your goal is fitness, your MDS might be, put on my gym clothes and do 10 push-ups. If your goal is writing, your MDS might be, write 50 words. If your goal is sales, your MDS might be, make 2 follow-up calls. The power of the MDS is twofold. First, it eliminates the friction of starting. It's easy to talk yourself out of a 2-hour workout, but it's almost impossible to talk yourself out of 10 push-ups. Second, it maintains your consistency chain. Psychologically, there is a massive difference between doing a little and doing nothing. When you do nothing, you break the momentum. You signal to your brain that your goals are optional. When you hit your MDS, you keep the flame alive. You prove to yourself that you are disciplined, regardless of how you feel. Most days, once you finish your MDS, you'll find that you have the energy to keep going. But even on the days you don't, hitting that floor is a victory. It's the quiet focus that eventually leads to the loud result. The psychology of boring wins. We are a culture addicted to the big win. But big wins are unpredictable. Small wins, however, are entirely within your control. When you commit to a monotonous routine, you are training your brain to value delayed gratification. In an era of instant likes and 15-second videos, the ability to work for months without a standing ovation is a superpower. Every time you choose the routine over the distraction, you are strengthening your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive function and willpower. You are literally rewiring your biology to be more resilient. You are becoming a person who can handle the boring parts of life without breaking. And here is the secret that the masters know. The results aren't in the intensity of the finish line. The results are in the monotony of the training. The person who wins the race didn't win it on the day of the track meet. They won it during the 500 identical practice sessions they completed while everyone else was sleeping. Practical exercise. Designing your MDS. Take a moment right now to look at your primary goal. Define the ideal. What does a perfect day of work look like? E.g., 2 hours of deep work, 1 hour of exercise. Define the MDS. What is the ridiculously easy version of that day? E.g., 10 minutes of work, 5 minutes of stretching. The vow. Commit to hitting that MDS every single day for the next 30 days. No excuses. If you are sick, if you are traveling, if you are overwhelmed, hit the floor. Remember, the goal of the MDS isn't to make massive progress in a single day. The goal is to build a reputation with yourself. You are teaching yourself that you are the kind of person who shows up. Mastery is monotonous on purpose. As we move into Chapter 3, we will discuss how to protect this precious discipline from the outside world. Once you've committed to the boring work, the world will try to distract you. You must learn to guard your focus as if it were your most valuable currency. Chapter 3. Protect your attention like it's currency. If I walked into your home and took $100 out of your wallet every single day, you would eventually stop me. You would change the locks. You would call the police. You would be outraged because your money is a finite resource that you worked hard to earn. Yet, Most of us allow a dozen different apps, 100 different notifications, and 1,000 different digital pings to steal something far more valuable than our money every single day, our attention. Money, once lost, can often be earned back. Time, once spent, is gone forever. But attention is the bridge between time and results. If you have the time but lack the attention, you have nothing. You are a ghost in your own life, present in body but absent in mind. In the modern distraction economy, your attention is the new gold. It is the scarcest resource on the planet. And the world is currently in a high-stakes arms race to see who can steal the most of it from you. The great attention heist. We must begin by acknowledging a hard truth. You are not lazy. You are being outmaneuvered. The smartest minds of our generation, engineers with PhDs from Stanford and MIT, are working at social media companies with one singular goal: to keep you looking at a screen for 5 more seconds. They use variable reward schedules, the same psychological triggers used in slot machines, to ensure that every time you pull down to refresh a feed, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. They have turned your phone into a portable casino. Every like, every red dot notification, and every trending news story is a hook designed to pull you away from your deep work and into their shallow world. When you allow these distractions to dictate your day, you aren't just checking your phone. You are surrendering your sovereignty. You are letting a stranger in a boardroom thousands of miles away decide what you think about, how you feel, and, ultimately, what you achieve. Where attention goes, results follow. The high cost of quick checks. Most people believe they are good at multitasking. Science tells a different story. The human brain is physically incapable of multitasking. What we are actually doing is task switching. Every time you are focused on a task and you pause to quickly check an email or a text, your brain has to shift its gears. When you try to go back to your original task, a part of your mind stays stuck on that email or text. This is what researchers call attention residue. Dr. Sophie Leroy, a business professor at the University of Minnesota, discovered that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully regain deep focus after a single interruption. Think about that. If you check your phone once every 20 minutes, you are living in a state of permanent cognitive fog. You never actually reach the flow state, that high-performance zone where your best work is done. You are operating at a 20% to 30% discount on your actual intelligence. Studies have even shown that the drop in IQ caused by constant digital distraction is higher than the drop caused by smoking marijuana or losing a full night's sleep. If you want loud results, you cannot operate on a discount. You need your full cognitive power. You need to stop leaking your attention in small, invisible increments. Deep work versus shallow work. In his groundbreaking book, Cal Newport distinguishes between deep work and shallow work. Shallow work is the administrative, low-value stuff, answering non-urgent emails, attending pointless meetings, and scrolling through Slack. It doesn't require much brain power, and it doesn't create much value. It's the busy work that makes you feel productive while you're actually standing still. Deep work, on the other hand, is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It is the work that moves the needle. It is writing the code, drafting the strategy, practicing the craft, or solving the complex problem. The problem is that shallow work is easy and addictive, while deep work is hard and uncomfortable. But here is the quiet focus secret. Value is created in the deep, but the world lives in the shallow. If you can cultivate the ability to go deep while everyone else is distracted by the shallow, you will have a massive competitive advantage. You will be able to produce in 2 hours what takes an average person 2 weeks to finish. Where attention goes, results follow. The focus ritual, your shield against the world. Focus is not a gift you are born with, it is a ritual you perform. To protect your attention, you must build a fortress around your work. This requires 3 specific boundaries: environment, time, and technology. 1. The physical environment. Your environment should do the heavy lifting for you. You should not have to use willpower to focus. If your phone is sitting on your desk, even if it is face down and silent, a portion of your brain is actively working to ignore it. This is a waste of energy. The rule: the phone leaves the room. Put it in a drawer, in another room, or give it to someone else. Create a physical barrier between you and your greatest distraction. The signal: have a specific focus trigger. It could be putting on a specific pair of noise-cancelling headphones, lighting a certain candle, or playing a specific lo-fi playlist. Tell your brain, when this happens, we are in deep focus mode. 2. Time blocks, the 90-minute sprint. The human brain is not designed to focus for 8 hours straight. We operate on ultradian rhythms, cycles of high-energy focus followed by periods of rest. The rule: schedule deep work sprints of 60 to 90 minutes. During this time, you do nothing but your one most important task. No tabs open that aren't related to the work. No quick checks. Total immersion. The rest, after your sprint, take a 15-minute analog break. No screens. Walk around, stretch, or stare out a window. This allows your brain to process the information and recharge for the next sprint. 3. Digital boundaries, the default off setting. Most people have their phone set to default on, meaning the phone has permission to interrupt them whenever it wants. You must flip the script. The rule: turn off all non-human notifications. You do not need to know that someone liked your photo or that a news app has a breaking story. The selective access: use Do Not Disturb or Focus Mode as your default setting during work hours. Only allow calls from your inner circle, spouse, parents, to get through. Everything else can wait. You are not an emergency responder. You are a builder. The discipline of the one thing. At the heart of protecting your attention is the discipline of the one thing. Success is not about doing many things at once. It's about doing the right thing with total intensity. When you sit down to work, ask yourself, if I only accomplished one thing today that would make everything else easier or unnecessary, what would it be? Once you identify that one thing, protect your attention on it until it is done. The world will try to pull you into 1,000 different directions. Your inbox will scream. Your social media will beckon. But you must remain quiet. You must remain focused. Every time you say no to a distraction, you are saying yes to your future. You are investing your attention currency into a high-yield asset, your own potential. Practical exercise. The attention audit. For the next 24 hours, I want you to perform an attention audit. Track the pings. Every time you reach for your phone or get distracted by a notification, make a small mark on a piece of paper. Identify the leaks. At the end of the day, look at how many marks you have. Which apps or people are stealing the most of your currency? Delete or block. Take one app that is a major time sink and delete it for 7 days. Move your email app off your home screen. Install a website blocker on your laptop. As you begin to reclaim your attention, you will feel a strange sensation. You might feel anxious or bored at first. This is digital withdrawal. Stick with it. On the other side of that boredom is a level of clarity and creative power you haven't felt since you were a child. Where attention goes, results follow. When you protect your attention, you are not just being productive. You are being respectful to yourself. You are acknowledging that your goals are worth more than a 15-second video. You are choosing the loud result over the quiet distraction. In Chapter 4, we will look at how to sustain this focus over the long haul. We will explore the silent edge of patience and why the fastest way to get where you're going is often to slow down. Chapter 4, The Silent Edge of Patience. We live in the age of the now. We have moved from the information age into the instant age. We want high-speed internet, overnight shipping, and instant feedback. We have become a culture that views a 3-second delay in a video loading as a personal affront. This addiction to speed has created a psychological side effect. We have lost our ability to wait. And because we cannot wait, we cannot build anything of lasting value. The quiet focus philosophy teaches us that the greatest results are not achieved through frantic speed, but through strategic patience. In a world of sprinters who burn out after the first 100 meters, the person who can maintain a steady, patient pace for a mile will eventually find themselves in a race of one. Patience is not a passive waiting game. It is a silent, strategic edge. The cathedral builder's mindset. In the medieval era, stonemasons and architects began construction on cathedrals that they knew they would never see finished. A single cathedral could take 80, 100, or even 150 years to complete. The man who laid the foundation stone knew that his grandson might be the one to install the stained glass. They worked with a long horizon. They weren't looking for a win by next quarter. They were building for the centuries. Contrast that with today. We start a YouTube channel and feel like failures if we don't have 1,000 subscribers in a month. We start a business and feel like quitting if we aren't profitable by day 90. We have replaced the cathedral builder mindset with the microwave mindset. We want the heat, but we don't want the fire. When you operate with quiet focus, you reclaim the long horizon. You realize that fast is often a distraction. Fast growth is often fragile growth. If a tree grows too quickly, its wood is soft and breaks in the first storm. A hardwood tree grows slowly, ring by ring, year by year, until it is unshakable. Slow is smooth. Smooth becomes unstoppable. The invisible math of compound growth. To understand the power of patience, you must understand the mathematics of compounding. Most people think linearly. If I work twice as hard, I will get twice the result. But the real world, especially in business, wealth, and skill, works exponentially. Imagine a single penny that doubles in value every day for 31 days. On day 1, you have 1 cent. On day 10, you have $5.12. To a linear thinker, this looks like a failure. You've been working for 10 days and you can't even buy a steak dinner. On day 20, you have 242 better, beautiful 3 weeks off doubling, you're still just middle class. But then the kvestet stotende by day 31 thatsinglipeni has become 242 better, beautiful 3 weeks off doubling, you're still just middle class. But then the kvestet stotende by day 31 thatsinglipeni has become 10.7 million ***. The most important part of that story is that the vast majority of the wealth was created in the last 3 days. If the pennyholder had quit on day 25 because they were bored or not seeing enough results, they would have missed out on 99% of the total outcome. This is the valley of disappointment. In any new endeavor, learning a language, building a brand, or investing money, there is a long period where the effort you put in does not seem to match the results you are getting. You are putting in effort, but the graph is flat. The person of quiet focus understands that this flat line is not a lack of progress. It is the accumulation of potential energy. You are building the foundation. When the breakthrough finally happens, it will look like an overnight success to the outside world, but you will know the truth. It was the result of 1,000 silent, patient days. The slow is smooth philosophy. There is a phrase used by elite special forces, particularly the Navy SEALs, during high-stakes training: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. When you are in a high-pressure situation, like clearing a room or disarming a device, your instinct is to move as fast as possible. But when you move fast, you make mistakes. Your hands shake. You skip steps. Those mistakes force you to stop, backtrack, and fix what you broke. In the end, your fast movement actually took longer and was more dangerous. If you move slowly and deliberately, you move smoothly. When you move smoothly, you do it right the first time. You maintain your focus. You eliminate rework. And because you are moving without errors, you actually reach the objective faster than the person who tried to sprint. Apply this to your career. How many times have you rushed a project only to have it rejected? How many times have you hustled through a conversation only to realize you missed the most important detail? Quiet focus means slowing down the process so you can speed up the result. It means taking the time to research deeply, to practice perfectly, and to build the system correctly. Slow is smooth. Smooth becomes unstoppable. The edge of the long game. In every industry, there is a noise of people shouting for attention. They are the ones chasing trends, jumping from one get-rich-quick scheme to the next, and trying to hack the algorithm. These people are the short-termers. The short-termer is your greatest competitive advantage. Why? Because the short-termer cannot handle the silence of the long game. If you decide to commit to a single craft for 10 years, you have already eliminated 90% of your competition. Most people will quit by year 2. Another 5% will quit by year 5. If you are still standing, still focusing, and still improving by year 10, The world has no choice but to pay you. Patience is a filter. It filters out the uncommitted. It filters out the tourists of success. When you stop looking for the exit and start looking for the mastery, you enter a space where there is very little competition. Analogy: the bamboo tree. The Chinese bamboo tree is a classic example of the silent edge of patience. When the seed is planted, you must water it and fertilize it every single day. For the first year, nothing happens. For the second year, nothing happens. 3 years, 4 years. Still, not a single green sprout breaks through the soil. To an observer, it looks like a waste of time. It looks like you are watering dirt. But in the 5th year, something miraculous happens. In a period of just 6 weeks, the bamboo tree grows 80 feet tall. The question is, did the bamboo tree grow 80 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 80 feet in 5 years? The answer, of course, is 5 years. If at any point during those silent years the farmer had stopped watering the ground, the bamboo would have died in the earth. During those 4 years of no results, the bamboo was growing a massive, complex root system. It was building the infrastructure necessary to support an 80-foot tall structure. Your quiet focus is your root system. You may not see the 80-foot result today. You may not see it next month. But if you are doing the work, you are growing the roots. And when your season of growth arrives, you will have the foundation to handle the height. Practical exercise. The 5-year lens. To cultivate the silent edge of patience, you must change your unit of measurement. Stop measuring your life in days. Start measuring it in seasons and years. The decade goal. Write down one thing you want to be a master of 10 years from now. Not 1 year, 10. The insignificant action. What is one tiny action you can do today that, if repeated for 3,650 days, 10 years, would make that mastery inevitable? The silence vow. When you feel the urge to hurry or skip steps, repeat the mantra, slow is smooth. Smooth becomes unstoppable. Closing the chapter. Patience is not the absence of action. It is the persistence of action in the absence of immediate results. It is the understanding that the most beautiful things in life require time to ripen. Stop checking the soil every 10 minutes to see if the seed has sprouted. You are only disturbing the roots. Water the ground. Do the work. Stay quiet. Let the world think you're doing nothing. When you finally break through the surface, you won't just be a sprout. You will be a forest. Slow is smooth. Smooth becomes unstoppable. Chapter 5. Validation is a performance trap. There is a subtle, dangerous shift that happens when we begin to succeed. In the beginning, we work because we have to. We work because we want to solve a problem or build a life. But as soon as we get our first taste of praise, the first good job from a boss, the first 100 likes on a post, the first nod of respect from a peer, our motivation begins to migrate. Without realizing it, we stop being builders and we start being performers. We stop asking, how can I make this better? And start asking, how will this look to them? This is the validation trap. It is a performance-killing cycle where the desire for approval replaces the drive for excellence. In the world of quiet focus, we must understand that external validation is a volatile currency. If you build your house on the applause of others, you will find yourself homeless the moment the crowd stops clapping. The audience effect. Psychologists have long studied what is known as social facilitation, the tendency for people to perform differently when they know they are being watched. While an audience can sometimes make us run faster in a race, it has the opposite effect on complex, creative, or deep work. When we feel the eyes of an audience on us, we become cognitively conservative. We take fewer risks. We stick to the safe path that we know will get a positive reaction. We avoid the messy, experimental, and quiet failures that are actually required for a breakthrough. Think about the artist who creates a unique style and finds success. Suddenly, they feel the pressure to keep producing that exact same style because that is what the audience expects. They become a prisoner of their own previous success. Their focus shifts from the act of creation to the management of their image. Quiet focus is the antidote to this. It is the ability to work as if you are invisible. When you work as if no one is watching, you are free to be honest. You are free to fail. You are free to pursue the quiet paths that eventually lead to the loudest results. Social media, the digital stage. Nowhere is the validation trap more visible than on social media. We are the first generation of humans who are encouraged to brand ourselves before we have actually built ourselves. We see people posting hustle quotes and photos of their workstations before they've completed a single hour of deep work. This is performance productivity. The goal isn't to be productive. The goal is to be seen as productive. Every time you stop your flow to take a photo of your coffee and your laptop to show the world you are grinding, you have broken your focus. You have invited 1,000 different opinions into your workspace. You are now subconsciously wondering what they will think. You have traded your cognitive depth for a shallow hit of dopamine. The quiet focus practitioner knows that the most important work happens in the shadows. If you are truly doing the work that will change your life, you won't have the time or the desire to perform it for an audience. You recognize that the likes of strangers are a poor substitute for the pride of a finished masterpiece. Approval is temporary. Skill is permanent. The workplace FaceTime delusion. The validation trap isn't just a digital problem. It's a cultural one in our offices and corporations. We often reward loud effort over quiet results. We've all seen the person who stays until 8 p.m. every night, sighs loudly about how busy they are, and sends emails on Sunday mornings just to show they are on. This is often a performance. They are seeking the validation of being the hardest worker. However, if you look at the actual output, you often find that the person who leaves at 4 p.m., the one who spent 4 hours in total silence, with their phone off and their door closed, has produced twice as much value. The quiet worker doesn't need the boss to see them sweating. They trust that the results will eventually be so loud that an explanation of their effort will be unnecessary. When you focus on image, you exhaust yourself. When you focus on skill, you empower yourself. Identity-based habits. To escape the validation trap, you must move from outcome-based motivation to identity-based habits. Outcome-based motivation says, I want to get a promotion so people respect me. Identity-based motivation says, I'm the kind of person who provides undeniable value. When your actions are rooted in who you are rather than who is watching, your discipline becomes unshakable. You don't need a light to keep going, because your reward is the alignment with your own identity. Think of a professional writer. An amateur writer writes when they feel inspired or when they have an audience waiting. A professional writer writes because they are a writer. They sit at the desk when it's cold, when they're tired, and when no one cares, because to not write would be a betrayal of who they are. If you do the work because it is a part of your identity, you are no longer a slave to the validation economy. You have an internal compass that tells you if you've done a good job. You don't need to check your phone to see if you're successful. You only need to look at the work itself. The internal scoreboard. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history, often speaks about the inner scoreboard versus the outer scoreboard. The outer scoreboard is how the world sees you. It's your title, your bank account, your followers, and your reputation. The inner scoreboard is how you see you. It's your integrity, your self-discipline, and your commitment to your own standards. Buffett asks a powerful question. Would you rather be the world's greatest lover, but have everyone think you're the world's worst? Or would you rather be the world's worst lover, but have everyone think you're the world's greatest? The person caught in the validation trap chooses the latter. They would rather have the image of success than the reality of it. But the person of quiet focus knows that the only scoreboard that matters in the long run is the internal one. If you win on the outside but lose on the inside, you are a hollow shell. But if you win on the inside, if you master your focus, protect your time, and build your skill, the outside world will eventually have no choice but to recognize your win. Approval is temporary. Skill is permanent. The Ghost Week strategy. To break your addiction to validation, I recommend a Ghost Week. For 7 days, perform your work to the highest possible standard, but do not share a single detail of it with anyone. Do not tell your spouse about a breakthrough. Do not post a status update. Do not seek a great job from your manager. Live entirely for your inner scoreboard. At first, this will be uncomfortable. You will feel a phantom itch to share your progress. But by day 4 or 5, something shifts. You start to realize that the work itself feels different when it's just for you. It feels heavier. It feels more real. You begin to develop a silent confidence, a type of strength that doesn't need to be announced to be felt. Practical exercise. Redefining the win. Take your current goal and write down 2 versions of a win. The external win, e.g., get 10,000 views, get a raise, get 500 likes. The internal win, e.g., I did not check my phone during my 90-minute deep work block. I produced something I am proud of. I kept my promise to myself. From this day forward, you are only allowed to celebrate the internal win. Let the external win happen as a side effect, but don't let it be the fuel. Closing the chapter. Validation is like cotton candy. It's sweet for a second, but it provides no real nourishment. Skill, focus, and self-trust are the meat and potatoes of a successful life. Stop performing for the crowd. The crowd is fickle. They will love you today and forget you tomorrow. Instead, focus on the person you see in the mirror. When that person is satisfied with the work you've done in the silence, you have already won. Approval is temporary. Skill is permanent. In Chapter 6, we will look at how to sustain this internal drive over the long term by understanding why consistency, even at a lower volume, will always beat intensity. Chapter 6. Consistency beats intensity every time. We have a cultural obsession with the heroic effort. We love the stories of the programmer who stayed up for 72 hours straight to finish a piece of code, or the athlete who trained until they collapsed from exhaustion. We are taught that greatness is the result of massive, sweeping bursts of intensity. But if you look at the lives of those who actually sustained success over decades, you find a different story. You find that intensity is the amateur's tool, while consistency is the professional's weapon. Intensity is a sprint. Consistency is a long-distance run. Intensity is a flash flood. Consistency is the steady river that carves a canyon through solid rock. In the world of quiet focus, we don't care how much you can do in a single, caffeinated burst. We care about what you can do every single day for the next 5 years. The seduction of intensity. Intensity is seductive because it feels like progress. When you spend 10 hours on a project in one day, you feel a massive sense of accomplishment. You're exhausted, your brain is fried, and you feel like a hustler. The problem with intensity is that it is fundamentally unsustainable. It relies on motivation, and motivation is a chemical state that fluctuates based on how much sleep you had, what you ate for lunch, and whether or not people are cheering for you. When you rely on intensity, you create a boom and bust cycle. You work like a maniac for 3 days, burn out, and then do nothing for 2 weeks to recover. Over a month, your average output is actually very low. Even worse, you lose your momentum. Every time you stop, you have to spend an enormous amount of energy just to get the wheels turning again. Consistency, on the other hand, is about average volume over time. Imagine 2 people trying to get in shape. Person A goes to the gym for 4 hours once a week and pushes themselves until they can barely walk. Person B goes for 30 minutes every single morning, 5 days a week. At the end of the year, Person B has spent more total time exercising, has had more frequent metabolic spikes, and has built a deeper identity as an athlete. Person A likely quit by month 3 because the sessions were too painful to maintain. You don't rise to goals, you fall to systems. There is a quote by the ancient Greek poet Archilochus that has become a cornerstone of elite performance: "We do not rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training." In modern terms, we say, you don't rise to goals, you fall to systems. A goal is a destination, it's the what. A system is a process, it's the how. If you have a goal to write a book, that's great. But if you don't have a system for writing 500 words every morning at 7 a.m., the goal is just a fantasy. When things get difficult, when you're tired, or when life happens, you will fall back to whatever system you have in place. If your system is "I write when I feel inspired," then your system is actually "I don't write." Quiet focus is about building systems that make consistency the path of least resistance. It's about designing a life where the work happens almost automatically, regardless of your mood. The science of habit stacking. The most effective way to build a system of consistency is through a technique called habit stacking. Your brain is full of existing neural pathways, habits you already do without thinking. You brush your teeth, you make coffee, you check the mail. To build a new, consistent behavior, you stack it on top of an old one. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit. After I pour my first cup of coffee, I will sit at my desk and open my work file. After I close my laptop for the day, I will immediately put on my workout shoes. After I get into bed, I will read one page of a book. By doing this, you aren't relying on a surge of intensity. You are using the momentum of your existing life to carry your new focus forward. You are making the quiet focus part of your daily architecture. Environmental cues. Designing for success. If you want to be consistent, you must stop fighting your environment and start designing it. Most people try to use willpower to overcome a distracting environment. This is a losing battle. Willpower is a battery that drains throughout the day. Your environment, however, is always on. If you want to be a consistent runner, put your shoes on top of your phone the night before. To check your phone in the morning, you literally have to move your shoes. That is a visual cue that triggers the system. If you want to focus on deep work, your environment should be preloaded for it. Clear the desk. Close the extra tabs. Have your water bottle ready. Make it so that the only thing you can do is the work. When you remove the friction from the start, you make consistency easy. And when consistency is easy, intensity becomes unnecessary. The power of the streak. One of the best ways to gamify consistency is what is often called the Seinfeld strategy. Early in his career, Jerry Seinfeld wanted to become a better comedian. He decided that the way to do that was to write better jokes, and the way to write better jokes was to write every day. He bought a giant wall calendar and a big red marker. Every day that he wrote, he put a big red X over that date. After a few days, he had a chain. His only job after that was to not break the chain. He wasn't focused on writing a masterpiece every day. He was just focused on the X. Some days the jokes were brilliant. Some days they were terrible. It didn't matter. The consistency of the X meant that he was always in the game. He was always sharpening the tool. When you focus on the streak, you take the pressure off the performance. You realize that a bad workout is better than no workout because a bad workout keeps the chain alive. A bad paragraph is better than a blank page because it maintains the momentum of the system. The 1% rule. We often overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. Consistency is the belief that 1% better every day results in a 37-fold improvement over 12 months. Intensity looks for the 100% jump. It looks for the quantum leap. But quantum leaps are rare and often luck-based. The 1% improvement is within your control. It's the quiet focus of refining one small detail today. It's the discipline of showing up even when you don't feel like it. When you commit to the 1%, you stop worrying about the finish line. You become obsessed with the process. You start to realize that the loud result is just the inevitable mathematical conclusion of 1,000 small, consistent wins. Practical exercise. The 2-minute system. To build a system of consistency, apply the 2-minute rule. Whatever habit you are trying to build, scale it down to something that takes less than 2 minutes to start. Read a book becomes read 1 page. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes. Write a chapter becomes write 1 sentence. The goal is not to do the 2-minute task. The goal is to master the art of showing up. Once you show up consistently, the intensity will naturally follow. You can't improve a habit that doesn't exist. Closing the chapter. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to be intense. The world doesn't need your temporary brilliance. It needs your consistent presence. Build your systems. Stack your habits. Protect your environment. And above all, do not break the chain. Remember, when the pressure is on and the motivation is gone, you won't rise to the height of your dreams. You will fall to the level of your systems. You don't rise to goals, you fall to systems. In Chapter 7, we will look at how to protect this system by identifying and eliminating the hidden energy leaks that drain your power and threaten your consistency. Chapter 7. Eliminate hidden energy leaks. Imagine you are driving a high-performance sports car. The engine is tuned to perfection, the tires are brand new, and the tank is full of high-octane fuel. You press the accelerator, expecting to be pinned back into your seat, but the car sluggishly crawls forward. You check the gauges, and everything looks normal. But then you realize, the parking brake is half engaged, the windows are rolled down creating massive drag, and there is a slow leak in the fuel line that you didn't notice. No matter how hard you push that engine, you will never reach top speed until you fix the leaks. In the pursuit of loud results, most people focus on adding more hours, more coffee, more hustle, more tools. But the quiet focus practitioner understands that peak execution is often a game of subtraction, not addition. You don't need more input energy as much as you need to stop wasting the energy you already have. To move with true power, you must identify and eliminate your hidden energy leaks. The science of decision fatigue. Every morning, you wake up with a finite amount of decision capital. This is the mental energy stored in your prefrontal cortex, used for willpower, focus, and complex problem solving. Every choice you make, no matter how small, draws from this bank account. What should I wear today? Withdrawal. What should I have for breakfast? Withdrawal. How should I word this casual email? Withdrawal. Should I check my phone now or in 5 minutes? Withdrawal. By the time most people sit down to do their deep work at 10 a.m., they have already made dozens of irrelevant decisions. Their mental battery is at 60% before the real work has even begun. This is decision fatigue. When your battery is low, your brain instinctively looks for the path of least resistance. You find yourself scrolling social media, overthinking simple tasks, or procrastinating on big ones. The elite don't have more willpower than you. They simply have fewer decisions to make. This is why Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck every day. This is why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same grey t-shirt. They weren't making a fashion statement. They were sealing an energy leak. They pre-decided their wardrobe so they could spend that decision capital on building global empires. Energy saved is progress earned. The drama leak, social and emotional drag. One of the most corrosive energy leaks in our lives is unnecessary drama. This includes gossiping about colleagues, getting involved in internet arguments, or trying to manage the emotions of people who refuse to help themselves. Emotional labor is the most expensive form of energy. When you spend your evening ruminating on a passive-aggressive comment someone made, or worrying about a social situation you can't control, you are idling your engine at high RPMs while parked. You are burning fuel but going nowhere. The quiet focus philosophy requires a level of social ruthlessness. It means refusing to participate in low-level drama. It means setting boundaries with energy vampires, people who leave you feeling drained every time you interact with them. You must realize that you cannot fix everyone, and you certainly cannot please everyone. Every time you say no to an invitation you don't want to attend, or no to a drama you don't need to be part of, you are making a deposit into your execution fund. The polite yes and the debt of commitment. We often say yes to things because we want to be perceived as helpful, kind, or team players. We agree to a quick coffee, a brainstorming session, or a minor committee. But every yes is a debt that your future self has to pay. A yes to an unnecessary commitment is a no to your deep work. There is no such thing as a small commitment. Every commitment carries an attention residue. Even if the meeting is next week, a small part of your brain is already tracking it, preparing for it, and worrying about it. The most successful people in the world are notoriously difficult to reach. They aren't being rude, they are being protective. They know that if they say yes to everyone, they will have nothing left for the mission. You must learn the elegant no, the ability to decline a request firmly but kindly without offering a dozen excuses. Energy saved is progress earned. The overthinking leak, analysis paralysis. Overthinking is the ultimate hidden energy leak. It is the act of trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist yet, or resolving a problem you've already dealt with. Many people mistake ruminating for planning. Planning is an active, time-bound process that results in a list of actions. Ruminating is a circular, infinite process that results in anxiety. When you overthink, You are leaking energy through friction. You are revving your engine while the gears are stuck. Quiet focus means moving into action before you feel ready. Action provides data. Data provides clarity. Thinking only provides more thoughts. The rule is, if a decision is reversible, make it fast. If it's irreversible, make it slow. Most of the things we overthink are reversible. Pick a path, seal the leak of doubt, and move. The microstressor leak. Environmental friction. Look around your workspace. Is there a pile of mail you haven't opened? Is your computer desktop covered in 500 unsorted files? Is there a light bulb that's been flickering for 2 weeks? These are microstressors. Individually, they seem insignificant. But collectively, they act as background noise for your brain. Your subconscious mind is constantly scanning your environment, and every unfinished task it sees is a ping that drains a tiny bit of your focus. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, our brain's tendency to remember uncompleted tasks more than completed ones. Your brain is keeping a tab open for every mess in your house and every unreturned text in your phone. To seal these leaks, you must practice aggressive maintenance. Spend 15 minutes a day closing the tabs of your life. Clean the desk. File the papers. Send the uncomfortable email. Clear the environment so your mind has nothing to look at but the work. The framework: simplify, automate, say no. To turn quiet focus into a lifestyle, you must implement the SAS rule. Simplify, reduce the number of choices you have to make. Create a uniform for your work days. Eat the same high-energy lunch every day. Follow a morning routine that requires zero thought. The simpler your life is, the more powerful your focus becomes. Automate. Use technology to handle the mundane. Automate your bills, your savings, and your recurring reminders. If you have to remember to do something, you are leaking energy. Put it in a system so your brain can let go. Say no. Treat your yes as a sacred, limited resource. Before saying yes to anything, ask, does this move me closer to my primary goal, or is this a leak? If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Practical exercise. The energy audit. For the next 3 days, I want you to carry a notebook. Every time you feel a dip in your energy or a sense of heaviness, stop and write down what you were just doing or thinking about. Was it a specific person? Was it a decision you were struggling to make? Was it a piece of clutter in your environment? At the end of the 3 days, look at your list. These are your fuel leaks. Pick the top 3 and eliminate them immediately. Cancel the subscription, delete the app, or have the difficult conversation. Closing the chapter. Your energy is not infinite. You are a biological system with a limited daily bandwidth. Stop trying to hustle your way through the leaks. You cannot outwork a lack of focus. When you simplify your life and eliminate the hidden drains, you will find that you have a natural, effortless surge of power. You won't need motivation because you won't have any friction. You will move with the quiet focus of a predator, silent, efficient, and unstoppable. Energy saved is progress earned. In Chapter 8, we will take this internal power and use it to build the most important asset you possess, your reputation with yourself. Chapter 8. Build a reputation with yourself. We are often told that confidence is something you are born with, a personality trait that some people possess and others do not. We are told to fake it until we make it, to stand in front of a mirror and recite positive affirmations, or to visualize success until it manifests. But there is a fundamental flaw in these approaches. Your brain is too smart to be fooled by a pep talk. You cannot lie to yourself. You can trick an audience, you can mislead a boss, and you can curate a perfect image for social media. But when you lie in bed at night, you know the truth. You know if you actually did the work or if you just played office. You know if you kept your word or if you crumbled the moment things got difficult. In the world of quiet focus, we define confidence differently. Confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is not an outward bravado. Confidence is the reputation you have built with yourself. The internal auditor. Inside your mind, there is an internal auditor that keeps a meticulous record of every promise you make and every promise you break. Think about how you judge other people. If you have a friend who constantly makes plans and then cancels at the last minute, Or who promises to help you move but never shows up? What happens to your trust in them? It diminishes. You might still like them, but you no longer rely on them. Their reputation with you is unreliable. Now, look at the promises you make to yourself. I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. to work on my project. Snoozed until 7:30. I'm going to stop eating junk food starting Monday. Ordered pizza on Tuesday. I'm going to spend 2 hours in deep work today. Spent 45 minutes on Instagram. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your internal auditor makes a note. Over time, you build a reputation with yourself as someone who doesn't follow through. This is why you feel imposter syndrome or low self-esteem. It's not a psychological mystery. It's a rational response to a history of broken promises. If you wouldn't trust a friend who lied to you 10 times in a row, why would you trust a self that has lied to you 1,000 times? Confidence is evidence, not affirmation. There is a massive difference between affirmation and evidence. An affirmation is a wish. It is telling yourself I am a world-class closer when you haven't made a sales call in 3 weeks. Because there is no evidence to support the claim, your subconscious mind rejects it. It creates cognitive dissonance, a painful friction between what you are saying and what you are doing. Evidence, however, is undeniable. If you have made 50 sales calls every single day for the last 6 months, you don't need to stand in a mirror and tell yourself you are a hard worker. You know you are a hard worker. You have a mountain of evidence behind you. Real confidence is the quiet realization that you are capable of doing what you said you would do. It is the quiet focus that comes from knowing your history. When you sit down to tackle a difficult problem, you don't need to summon courage. You simply look at your track record and say, I have handled difficult things before, and I will handle this now. Confidence is evidence, not affirmation. The feedback loop, action, proof, belief. Most people wait until they feel confident before they take action. They think the sequence is belief, action, result. This is backwards. In reality, the sequence is action, proof, belief. You must act before you have the belief. You must do the work while you are still doubting yourself. Every time you push through the resistance and complete a task you committed to, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You are providing your internal auditor with a fresh piece of evidence. The action: you decide to work for 90 minutes without checking your phone. The proof: at the end of the 90 minutes, you see the work you've produced. You see your phone is still off. The belief: your brain thinks, maybe I am the kind of person who can focus. When you repeat this loop enough times, the belief becomes solidified. It becomes your new default setting. This is how you build a reputation. You don't build it with a giant, one-time leap. You build it with 1,000 small, quiet victories that no one else ever sees. The danger of the small betrayal. We often think that breaking a small promise doesn't matter. We think it's just 5 more minutes of sleep, or it's just 1 skipped workout. But your internal auditor does not distinguish between big promises and small ones. A broken promise is a broken promise. In fact, the small betrayals are often the most dangerous because they happen so frequently. They create a leak in your self-trust that slowly drains your power. If you cannot trust yourself to wake up when the alarm goes off, how can you trust yourself to lead a company? If you cannot trust yourself to stay off social media for an hour, how can you trust yourself to stay disciplined during a multi-year business build? Quiet focus starts with the small things. It starts with the integrity of your private life. When you master the small promises, the big ones become easy. You begin to move with a sense of internal authority. You no longer look to the world for validation because you have already received the highest form of validation, your own respect. The power of one strategy. To rebuild a damaged reputation with yourself, you cannot start by making massive, life-changing promises. Your auditor won't believe you. If you haven't exercised in years and you promise to run a marathon next month, your brain will laugh at you. Instead, you must use the power of one. Every day, pick one thing that you will do, no matter what. It should be small enough that it's almost impossible to fail, but significant enough to require a choice. I will drink 1 glass of water before my coffee. I will write for exactly 10 minutes at 8 a.m. I will put my phone in a drawer from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Make this promise your sacred vow. Do not break it. If the house is on fire, grab the water on the way out. By keeping this one small promise every single day, you begin to repair the line of self-trust. You are showing your brain that your word has power again. Once you've mastered 1, you can move to 2. Building a reputation in the dark. The most powerful form of self-trust is built when you are completely alone. It's easy to do the right thing when your boss is watching, or when your spouse is in the room, or when you're filming a video for your followers. That's not discipline, that's performance. The quiet focus that leads to loud results is forged in the moments when you are tired, no one is watching, and you could easily cut corners without anyone ever knowing. When you choose to do the work anyway, when you choose the hard right over the easy wrong, you are building a level of confidence that is bulletproof. When you walk into a room full of people, you don't need to tell them you are disciplined. They will feel it. It is in your posture, your eye contact, and the way you speak. It is the silent edge of a person who has nothing to prove to others because they have already proven everything to themselves. Practical exercise. The self-trust audit. Identify the leak. What is one promise you consistently break to yourself? E.g., hitting snooze, late night scrolling, procrastinating on a specific task. The 7-day contract. Write down a contract with yourself to fix this one leak for the next 7 days. Keep it incredibly simple. Log the evidence. Each night, before you go to sleep, write one sentence. Today, I kept my word regarding the promise. As the days add up, watch how your anxiety decreases and your focus increases. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are leading yourself. Closing the chapter. Stop looking for confidence in books, seminars, or the approval of others. You won't find it there. Confidence is an inside job. It is the byproduct of a life lived with integrity in the quiet moments. Build a reputation with yourself that is so strong that you become your own most reliable ally. When you say you will do something, let it be as good as done. When you reach that level of self-trust, you will move through the world with a quiet focus that cannot be shaken by external criticism or temporary failure. Confidence is evidence, not affirmation. In Chapter 9, we will see how this internal reputation eventually spills over into the world, changing the way people listen to you and the way opportunities find you. Chapter 9. Results change how the world listens. There is a specific, frustrating stage at the beginning of any journey where you feel like you are shouting into a void. You have a new business idea, but no one wants to invest. You have a new creative vision, but no one wants to follow. You have a new work ethic, but your colleagues still treat you like the person you were last year. In this stage, you feel the need to explain yourself constantly. You feel the need to defend your choices, to sell your potential, and to convince the world that you are serious. But there is a tipping point in the life of a quiet focus practitioner. It is the moment when the volume of your results surpasses the volume of your voice. When you stop talking and start delivering, the world's relationship with you fundamentally changes. You no longer have to ask for a seat at the table. The table is moved to accommodate you. You no longer have to brand yourself. Your body of work becomes your brand. In this chapter, we will explore why execution is the ultimate form of persuasion, and why, when your results finally speak, your explanations become unnecessary. The credibility gap. Branding versus execution. We live in a branding-first culture. We are told that we need the right logo, the right LinkedIn headshot, and the right elevator pitch before we even have a product. We are encouraged to build a facade of success in the hopes that people will buy into the illusion. But there is a credibility gap that exists between what you say and what you have actually done. Every time you speak about a goal you haven't achieved, you are widening that gap. Every time you use big words to describe a small business, people can sense the hollow space behind your statements. Quiet focus flips the script. It suggests that you should have zero brand and maximum execution. Think of a master craftsman, perhaps a high-end carpenter or a specialized surgeon. They don't spend their time on social media talking about how passionate they are about wood or anatomy. They don't have a 30-second pitch about their vision. They don't need to. If you want to know if the carpenter is good, you look at the joints of the chair. If you want to know if the surgeon is elite, You look at their success rate. The joints of the chair do not need an explanation. The success rate does not need a marketing campaign. Results are the only form of communication that cannot be misunderstood. When results speak, explanations become unnecessary. The gravity of competence. In the beginning, you are the one doing the chasing. You are chasing clients, chasing raises, and chasing respect. This is because, without results, you are just another person with potential. And potential, while abundant, is incredibly risky for other people to bet on. However, as you apply quiet focus, you begin to build a mass of competence. Every finished project, every kept promise, and every high-quality outcome adds to this mass. And as your mass grows, you begin to develop your own gravitational pull. Suddenly, the how changes. Instead of you asking, how can I get them to listen? The world starts asking, how can we get them involved? Think of a software developer who spends 2 years in total silence, perfecting a new type of encryption. They don't go to networking events. They don't hustle for followers. They just solve the problem. When the code is finished and it works better than anything else on the market, the world will find them. They won't need a resume. The result is the resume. High performance creates its own magnetic field. Competence is so rare in the modern world that when it appears, especially when it appears without the need for ego or fanfare, people are naturally drawn to it. They find it refreshing. They find it trustworthy. The death of the elevator pitch. We are often taught that we need an elevator pitch, a 30-second summary of who we are and why we matter. But have you ever noticed that the most powerful people in any room rarely have an elevator pitch? When you ask a truly successful person what they do, they usually give a very short, humble answer. I build houses. I manage a small fund. I write books. They don't need to embellish because their reputation has already entered the room before they did. If you have to spend 10 minutes explaining why your business is disruptive and innovative, it probably isn't. If it were truly disruptive, the results would be so obvious that you could explain it in 5 words, or better yet, you wouldn't have to explain it at all. Quiet focus allows you to retire the pitch. You stop trying to convince people of your value and start letting your value convince them. This is a position of immense power. The person who is trying to sell is always in a position of weakness. The person who is simply producing is in a position of strength. Credibility is earned in the dark. The world only sees the loud result, but it respects the quiet process. When a professional musician walks onto a stage and plays a perfect concerto, the audience is moved by the music. But the industry, the other musicians, the conductors, the critics, they are moved by the thousands of hours of silent practice they know it took to reach that level. Your credibility is not earned during the presentation or the launch. It is earned in the dark, during the months of repetition, the late-night troubleshooting, and the refusal to take shortcuts. When you eventually show your work to the world, people can feel the weight of that silent time. They can sense the skill density. They know that this result wasn't a fluke, it was an inevitability. This is why people stop questioning you. They realize that you aren't guessing. You are executing from a foundation of mastery. When results speak, explanations become unnecessary. The shift from why to how. There is a specific linguistic shift that happens when your results become loud enough. In the early stages, people ask you why. Why are you waking up so early? Why are you working on that side project? Why aren't you coming out with us tonight? These why questions are often thinly veiled criticisms. They are meant to pull you back to the average. But after a year of quiet focus, when your body has changed, your bank account has grown, or your project has launched, the question changes to how. How did you stay so consistent? How did you get that much work done? How can I do what you did? When the world shifts from why to how, you have won. You no longer need to defend your lifestyle because your lifestyle has been validated by its outcomes. You don't need to argue for your methods because the how is evidenced by the results in your hand. The economy of words. The more successful you become through quiet focus, the less you will feel the need to speak. Amateurs speak to fill the silence. They speak to mask their insecurities. They speak to try and manifest a reality that doesn't exist yet. Professionals, however, treat their words like a scarce resource. They know that every minute spent talking about the work is a minute stolen from doing the work. When you have loud results, your silence becomes an asset. It creates an air of mystery and authority. It signals to the world that you are too busy building to spend time talking. Think about the difference between a guru who sells a course on how to be successful, lots of words, few results, and a billionaire founder who gives one interview every 3 years, few words, massive results. Who does the world listen to more closely? The world leans in when the silent person speaks, because they know that those words are backed by a mountain of action. Practical exercise. The proof portfolio. Instead of updating your pitch, I want you to build a proof portfolio. List the evidence. Write down 3 things you have actually finished in the last 6 months. Not things you started, things you finished. The no explanation challenge. The next time someone asks you how your work is going, answer in 1 sentence with a tangible fact. I finished the first draft. We hit our sales target for the month. I haven't missed a workout in 30 days. Observe the reaction. Notice how much more weight those factual sentences carry than a 5-minute speech about your goals and vision. Closing the chapter. Stop trying to win the argument. Win the race instead. If people don't believe in you, don't try to convince them with your words. Your words are currently unbacked currency. They have no value because there is no gold in the vault. Go back to your quiet focus. Go back to the dark room. Build the product, refine the skill, and hit the target. When you emerge with the loud result, the world will stop asking you for explanations. They will stop questioning your path. They will simply look at what you've done, and they will listen to whatever you have to say next. When results speak, explanations become unnecessary. In our final chapter, Chapter 10, we will look at how to take these tactics and turn them into a permanent identity. We will explore how to make quiet focus not just something you do, but who you are. Chapter 10. Make quiet focus your identity. We have traveled a long road together. We began by learning to silence our announcements and protect our momentum. We explored the necessity of boredom, the currency of attention, and the silent edge of patience. We learned to escape the trap of validation and to value consistency over the fleeting high of intensity. We identified our energy leaks and rebuilt our reputations with ourselves until our results became so loud that the world had no choice but to listen. But now, we reach the most critical juncture. Everything we have discussed so far could be viewed as a toolkit, a set of tactics to be used when you want to achieve a specific goal. But tactics are temporary. Tactics are things you pick up when you're motivated and drop when you're tired. If quiet focus is just a hack you use to get a raise or lose 10 pounds, you will eventually revert to the loud, distracted, and shallow version of yourself. To truly master your life, you must move beyond the doing and enter the being. You must transition from someone who uses focus to someone who is focused. You must make quiet focus your identity. The rarity of the finisher. The world is full of starters. Starting is easy. Starting is fueled by the initial hit of excitement, the newness of a project, and the dopamine of a fresh vision. There are millions of half-written novels, half-built businesses, and half-formed habits littering the landscape of human ambition. The finisher, however, is a rare breed. A finisher is someone who has integrated quiet focus so deeply into their soul that quitting or getting distracted feels like a violation of their nature. When you make quiet focus your identity, you become a person who finishes. You are no longer trying to write a book. You are a writer who completes manuscripts. You are no longer trying to build a company. You are a builder who sees structures through to the roof. This shift happens when the process becomes more important than the prize. When you identify as a finisher, you realize that the greatest reward isn't the trophy at the end. It's the knowledge that you are a person who has the discipline to reach it. This internal certainty is a superpower. It allows you to walk into any situation, no matter how difficult, and know that you will remain focused until the job is done. Lifestyle design, the 24-hour fortress. Quiet focus as an identity means recognizing that your performance at 10 a.m. is determined by your choices at 10 p.m. the night before. You cannot live a loud, chaotic, and undisciplined personal life and expect to have a quiet, focused, and high-impact professional life. Your identity is a 24-hour-a-day commitment. It involves a total lifestyle design centered around your priorities. Biological integrity. You value your focus so much that you protect your sleep and your nutrition with a ferocity that others find strange. You don't diet to look good. You eat to think clearly. You don't sleep because you're lazy. You sleep because your brain is a high-performance engine that requires maintenance. Environmental minimalism. You curate your physical and digital surroundings to serve your identity. Your home and office are not dumping grounds for distractions. They are sanctuaries for execution. If it doesn't help you focus, it doesn't belong in your space. Relational quality. You stop seeking the company of those who thrive on noise and drama. You gravitate toward other builders, other finishers, and other quiet masters. You realize that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and you choose to spend that time with people who respect your silence. This isn't a sacrifice. To the person who has made quiet focus their identity, these choices don't feel like giving things up. They feel like choosing the best. The freedom of the invisible life. There is a profound sense of freedom that comes with the quiet identity. When you no longer care about being seen as successful, you are free to actually become successful. Most people are carrying a heavy image tax. They spend an enormous amount of mental energy maintaining a facade, keeping up with trends, and making sure everyone knows how hard they are working. This is exhausting. When you make quiet focus your identity, you stop paying the image tax. You become invisible in the best possible way. You move through the world with a calm, unshakable confidence because you know who you are. You don't need the world to validate your progress because you have your own internal scoreboard. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room because you know your results will eventually do the shouting for you. This freedom allows you to think longer, work deeper, and live more authentically. You aren't performing for an audience. You are building for a legacy. The legacy of the silent builder. What will you leave behind? The people who make the biggest impact on history are rarely the ones who are the loudest during their lifetimes. The loudest people often leave behind nothing but echoes. But the silent builders, the scientists who spent decades in the lab, the artists who spent a lifetime at the easel, the entrepreneurs who spent years in the garage, they leave behind loud results that last for generations. Your quiet focus is the tool with which you carve your legacy. By choosing to stay quiet and stay focused, you are choosing to create something that matters. You are choosing depth over breadth. You are choosing mastery over mediocrity. As you move forward from this book, do not look back. Do not wait for the right time to start being focused. That time is now. Do not wait for someone to give you permission to be quiet. You have already given it to yourself. The final transformation. You are no longer the person you were in Chapter 1. You are no longer the person who feels the need to announce every small win. You are no longer the person who is easily pulled away by the red dots on a screen. You are no longer the person who fears the boredom of the grind. You are a practitioner of quiet focus. You are a guardian of your attention. You are a builder of undeniable results. When you wake up tomorrow, you won't try to be focused. You will simply be who you are. You will move through your day with a steady, calm, and relentless energy. You will face challenges with the slow is smooth mindset. You will treat your energy as a sacred resource. And you will find a deep, quiet joy in the act of execution itself. The world will try to pull you back. It will try to tempt you with quick wins and public praise. It will try to distract you with its never-ending noise. But you will remain quiet. You will remain focused. Because you know the secret. You know that the loudest results in the world don't come from the people who talk the most. They come from the people who have mastered the silence. Final mantra. This isn't something you do. It's who you are. As we close this final chapter, I want you to take a deep breath and settle into your new identity. The work ahead of you is great, but you are now equipped with the only tool that truly matters, the ability to focus. Go back to the dark room. Go back to the boring repetitions. Go back to the silent builds. Stay there until the work is finished. Stay there until the results are so massive that you couldn't hide them even if you tried. The world is waiting for your results. But for now, stay quiet. Your focus is your power. Your silence is your shield. Your results will be your legacy. This isn't something you do. It's who you are. End of chapter 10. End of audiobook.